Hi there. I'd like to tell you a little about my life in the Calamvale, Algester area over the past 50 years. Firstly, I've always been a nature lover. I've loved plants, greenery and nature, and therefore it was no surprise that when we were first married, we settled on a 2.5 acre site just 2 minutes down the road from here in Benheim Street, Calamvale, for the grand sum of $2,500. This was about the average price for a house block with sewerage in many southwestern suburbs at the time. Then there was absolutely nothing in the area, and civilization just seemed to stop at the GMH plant at Acacia Ridge. This was where the General Motors Holden used to make the cars, at Acacia Ridge, and it was a going area then. So the area had no developed estates out here, no water, no bitumen roads and no public transport. The land lots out in this area relied on tank water, and of course electricity was available, which enabled power tools to be used by anyone with an adventurous spirit wanting to live in the bush, which it was considered in the bush in those days. Algester Road was a narrow bitumen strip just off the Beaudesert Road, down to approximately where Central Park Shopping Centre is now. From there it was little more than a dirt track leading down to a natural water causeway where wallabies and other native animals used to gather. This of course was subject to flooding, so only the flood-proof route to Benheim Street was along the Beaudesert Road and then turn into Nottingham Road and then into Benheim Street. We had intentions of building our house with water tank reliance, but that suddenly changed with the announcement that this exciting new satellite suburb, which was brainstormed by Clem Jones, the former Lord Mayor of Brisbane, was to be developed in this area. We were ecstatic. We could now build with water connected, not sewerage on acreage, but water. So we went ahead. The Algester Road suddenly had bitumen all the way down to Ormskirk Street, turn off, and display homes began springing up fronting Algester Road, with the bush background still being developed in stages into housing blocks. We were so excited. We loved where we were living on the acreage, but we loved the excitement of seeing all the housing frames going up and driving to work and houses and people coming. We still had no transport, of course, that was to come. Still no bitumen roads in Benheim Street. But every day we marvelled at how quickly the housing frames sprung up from the creek right up to the still vacant land at the top end of Algester Road, some of which was supported a small vineyard. And life, we thought, was very good. Challenging, but good. In under 20 years, we experienced the development of Algester and beyond. As we all know now, Algester is the closest one to the city, and you have Parkinson and all the rest out further. The horses roaming through our property and occasional kangaroos and wallabies were long gone since the creek was modernised to take the abundant water which washed down the slopes. We no longer had to take the long way home. We had Brisbane City Council bus at Algester, Formby Street if needed, and the choice of food and consumables at the local Sunnybank Hills shopping centre was a treat, and the new Calamvale Hotel Motel was our local pub, patronised by the Benheim Street in crowd. One day, on the way to work, I couldn't wait to go home and tell my hubby that I noticed on the way to work that the land being subdivided at the top end of Algester Road, which was Ridgewood Heights private courts then, something was going on. And I said, well, what is it? You know, the acreage blocks are being split up. Anyhow, it turned out to be a unique development, way ahead of its time. The blocks were divided into 4 courts of group title freehold housing blocks with a shared pool and tennis courts, and Ridgewood Heights private courts was born. Life was good. For many reasons, our time on the acreage was at an end. But where do we go? What do? We didn't want to move from the area. All the local shops going up now, development going ahead was very exciting, but we were reluctant to leave our beloved acreage. However, bearing in mind that we had to move, we sceptically decided to to look at Ridgewood Heights private courts. It was a well-planned, constructed, but bare-looking development scattered with obligatory developers' plans, all very pretty, but lacking that loved, established touch. Would we be happy there? Would it be for life? Life had been good. Would life be good there? We decided to take the plunge and bought a block of land up here in Ridgewood Heights private courts, which it was called, and the sign is still out the front. We built our house here in 1989. The construction started, and very quickly new neighbours came around us. Some of the display homes were started to be occupied, and other people bought the vacant blocks and built here. We had the best of everything by then. There was shopping in all directions, public transport at the door if needed, and various easily accessible infrastructure routes, not only to the CBD, but to the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and Toowoomba, Logan and Gateway motorways, of course. We have the joys of restaurants, traditional and multicultural, within walking distance or a few minutes to Sunnybank Hills or Sunnybank. Medical services, which is a must and was a must even then for us, were within walking distance. And more importantly, fresh fish or cooked fish and chips for Friday night across the road. We sit back now and view our past life on acreage, which at the time was brilliant, and we enjoyed our younger years. I think about the time we moved here and think about my hesitancy about moving onto what was considered a small postage stamp block then, and I reflect upon how I felt when I first moved. Would I be happy here? At first, there were question marks for me, not for my husband, but for me, and these were quickly dispelled by the lovely neighbours we have. And as the trees and plants grew up around us, we now live in mature gardens with a pool and tennis court for our daughter or grandchildren, whoever wants to visit. We feel we have everything. And I sit back now and enjoy the beautiful gardens, the jacarandas when they're in flower, and the Illawarra flame tree from our front roof. And I think, yes, we did do the right thing moving here. We've been happy for next year. It will be 30 years we've been here next year. And we have enjoyed it. But we know that as changes in our past life have been and gone, there are going to be changes for us in our advancing years. We're both now in our 70s, my husband well into his 70s, with a few health problems, but we are still good and we enjoy life. But we know at some stage a change is going to come, and we just hope the next change will be just as enjoyable as this one has been for us.